snakes hiding in trunks, explosives, cockroaches, prosthetic limbs, and much, much worse. These are rental cars that were returned with something terrifying inside. It was May 28, 2024 in Plattsburgh, New York, when employees at an Enterprise rent-a-car noticed something unusual. A car that was overdue had been located at a private residence. When they arranged to have it towed back to the lot, nobody expected what they were about to find. As workers opened the trunk, they found the body of who they'd later find to be 57-year-old Lisa Dashnot Tyrell. Investigators quickly traced the car back to Lisa's husband, Scott Tyrell, 58. He was arrested not long after and charged with taking her life and concealing her body. In late March, they'd been in a heated argument, which turned violent. Tyrell strangled his wife, and in a desperate attempt to hide the crime, he put her body in the trunk of the rental car and just let it sit there for months. By the time the car was overdue and recovered, Lisa's death had already been ruled a homicide by strangulation. Tyrell ultimately pled guilty. In late September 2014, two women picked up what they thought was a routine rental car at Logan International Airport in Boston. They loaded their luggage in the trunk and drove roughly 90 minutes north to a motel in Maine. When they opened the trunk to get their bags, right beside their suitcases sat a 3 to 4 foot long ball python. They screamed, called 911, and when officers arrived, they coaxed the snake into a pillowcase and kept it at the local police station overnight. The next day, the snake was handed over to the Maine Warden's Service, then transferred to Sparks Arc Animal Services. Officials said ball pythons aren't venomous and are fairly common exotic pets. As for how it ended up in the trunk though, well, a pet owner reached out claiming the snake was their missing ball python. The owner said the snake had escaped from its tank a few weeks earlier. That's not the only time a snake was found in a rental car from an airport though. I thought that was oddly specific, but apparently not. In June 2018, a rental car was dropped off at a rental agency lot at Oakland International Airport in California. What should have been a standard return got really weird when staff noticed a snake moving inside the cabin. It was a 5-foot boa constrictor. The renters had the car for about 2 weeks and said they had no idea where the snake came from or how long it had been hiding there. Deputies from the Alameda County Sheriff's Office responded. One deputy, who happened to be a snake hobbyist, helped capture it and confirmed it wasn't venomous, so it was safe to handle. After being removed, the boa was taken to local animal services. The people who returned the car reportedly said they would adopt it if no one claimed the snake. It was a sweltering summer morning on July 3rd, 2003, near LaGuardia Airport. At a car rental lot, workers were going about inventorying cars that had been returned, or in this case, retrieved because they were overdue. Nothing out of the ordinary, until someone popped the trunk of a dark sedan that had been sitting there for days. Inside, they found a loaded semi-automatic weapon, which was bad enough, but everyone backed up when they saw what was sitting right next to it, an explosive. The employees froze, realizing exactly how serious this was. Police were called immediately. The facility and the surrounding block were evacuated with streets roped off. Ditmars Boulevard was completely shut, forcing hundreds of drivers to reroute as emergency crews handled the scene. The car hadn't been returned by its renter. It was retrieved by the agency after being overdue for several days. So whoever had left this car behind had walked away and was still at large. When the police commissioner at the time, Raymond Kelly, arrived though, he found the device wasn't actually an explosive. It was just a bunch of road flares with a clock attached to them. But I mean, it looked pretty convincing. Keep in mind, this was 2003, just a couple years after the September 11th attacks. People were super on edge already. Investigators launched a search to identify the person responsible, while the National Car Rental Facility remained closed and cordoned off. Police traced the car back to 27-year-old Kareem Davis. He'd rented the car weeks earlier and then just never returned it. Davis was arrested for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, basically for abandoning the rental. Oddly though, there's no public record showing he was ever charged for the firearm or the mock explosive. The device was later deemed a hoax, and the only legal action we know of was over the car itself. This one happened at an Enterprise rent-a-car in Smyrna, Georgia, where employees realized they were staring at what police call a robbery kit. Workers were cleaning a car after it was returned when they opened the trunk and found 2 firearms, an airsoft pistol with a silencer, 2 black ski masks, several rolls of duct tape, and some illicit substances. Why on earth would you ever leave this in a car that you were returning? Anyway, they called the cops right away. Turned out the renter had a lengthy criminal history. Go figure. Police said they weren't naming the suspect because he hadn't been charged, and they still had to confirm whether the name on the rental agreement matched the person who actually brought the car back. Next up, we have roaches, and not the kind you smoke. A Redditor going by Uplarons shared a nightmare they had in Hawaii back in 1999. He and his wife had just picked up a Dodge Stratus, about a year old, and stopped at the grocery store before heading to their condo. Everything seemed fine until he opened the driver's side door. The car was crawling with cockroaches all over the dashboard, the center console, and the front seats. His wife screamed. Everyone in the parking lot suddenly whipped around to look at what was going on. The Redditor immediately dumped all their groceries back into the cart, realizing there was just no way they were getting into that car. He called the rental company demanding a new vehicle. Within minutes, 3 employees arrived, swapped the car for a brand new one, and even upgraded it to make up for the little inconvenience. According to the employees, though, this kind of infestation happens all the time in Hawaii. If the previous renter eats in the car, cockroaches can take over. After a dozen trips to Hawaii, he and his wife have learned to shrug it off, but that first time, absolutely horrifying, especially since it was the first time he'd ever seen cockroaches in person. Quite the first impression. It was a normal day at a Hertz rental lot in Atlanta back in 2018 until it wasn't. Employees were doing their usual job, checking returned cars, when one of them spotted something. It was a grenade sitting in the back seat of a rental car. Immediately, the lot went into chaos. Police were called, the area was evacuated, and a bomb squad raced in to check the device. For a tense hour or so, nobody knew if this was a live explosive or just some prank. Eventually, the bomb squad determined the grenade was real, but they were able to secure it safely. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. Not every creepy thing in a rental car is alive or deadly. Sometimes it's just really strange. Take prosthetic limbs, for example. In the UK, Avis Car Rental ran a survey about what people leave behind in rental cars, and one of the items that turned up was a prosthetic limb. Imagine going to clean out a car and finding that. It seems unheard of forgetting to bring your arm with you, but there are multiple instances of this. For example, another car rental service called Europcar put together a list of their weirdest returns. Among the usual trash, like lost sunglasses and gym bags, someone had left behind a prosthetic leg. How'd they even walk away from the car without that? I don't know. This next story comes from a now deleted Reddit user who posted to a thread asking car rental staff about some of their worst experiences on the job. They wrote, "I work at a small local rental company, mostly serves a specific community in the area and collision shops owned by people in the community. I've only been here less than 1 year, and I've had so many people just not pay and or not return for months. Some people bring back cars, especially minivans, dirtier than I could have made my car if I didn't clean it for 5 years. The most horrible thing I can remember now was the time I was doing the regular check, the exterior for any damages. When I finish that, I get in the car to check where the miles and gas are up to and move it in. First thing I realize is that the car smells of actual excrement. I get out of the car, finish up with the customer, charge the card, and he leaves. I go back to the car to move it into the lot, but as I'm getting in, I see actual number 2 on the carpet by the driver's seat. By the look and smell of it, it was probably human. I do not miss having jobs where you have to deal with human excrement. I have a story about that, maybe in another video. Finishing off though, we have another deleted Reddit user who has a super gross story. They write, "So this happened to me when I was on a trip to Nevada a few years ago. I rented a standard sedan to drive around and check out some local spots. Everything was fine until I got back to my hotel late at night. I was unloading my bags from the trunk when I noticed some sticky residue on the floor. First I thought it was just some spilled soda. I didn't think much of it, but then I lifted one of the floor mats. My stomach dropped. Underneath, there was a hidden stash of old, dusty syringes and tiny vials filled with God knows what. I froze. I seriously could have cut myself or gotten poked without even realizing it. My mind was racing. What in the hell had the previous renter been doing in this car? I immediately called the rental company. They were quick to respond, sent someone to swap me out with a clean car, and made sure the original one was taken out of service to be checked and cleared. Honestly, it was the creepiest rental experience I've ever had. I still get chills thinking about how close I came to touching something dangerous without even knowing it. Well, it's now time for me to leave you behind. This is the video for today. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next one.